here's the confusing part. I'm going to read you a paragraph. And out there, everybody at home, see if you can spot the suspicious part of this paragraph.
Spot the sus.
Yeah, spot the sus. That's right. An hour into the game. So they talk about during the Super Bowl that this operation was going down.
Yeah, this operation went down during the big game, which makes perfect sense.
During the big game,
everyone's distracted.
There's an operation where Marines were going to go protect a power station and the FBI was going to go blow it up. That's the whole storyline they're doing here. Mm-hmm. An hour into the game, the Eagles were beating Kansas City, but the Marines in Idaho saw no signs of FBI saboteurs. At halftime, as a demonic Rihanna dressed in a crimson bodysuit with the pentagram belt took the stage, an SUV sporting Trump 2024 bumper stickers stopped beside the gate of the Columbia substation in Meridian. 4 men. Okay, so during the halftime show, you've got demonic Rihanna, you've got an SUV pulling up with Trump 2024. Yeah. 4 men, none of whom looks like feds, exited the truck and approached the lock gate.
Hold on. If you were the Fed and you're not very good at writing, wouldn't you say that? They didn't look like feds.
They didn't look like feds.
Well, there's no there's no basis to. Okay, all right. I guess you can just generally say people that look like feds. Oh, okay, got it. Sorry.
Yeah, there's more.
Okay.
All wore MAGA regalia, hats and jackets endorsing Trump's 2024 presidential bid, and 1 carried bolt cutters.
Oh boy.
2 had AR-15 style rifles slung across their shoulders.
No, wait a minute. That
AR-15 style rifles.
Yeah, that's a phrase only used in the mainstream.
Exactly. That is a mainstream corporate news media phrase. Now, if this was written by let's just call them, I don't know, what should we call them? What
independent
conspiracy theorist,
sure.
An independent QAnon reporter or something, the type of person you expect to be writing admittedly false stories about the Marines killing the FBI, Putin decimating an adrenochrome warehouse, Jerome Adams being hanged at Gitmo. All these things you envision a QAnon person writing.
Yeah.
But if there is one thing that a QAnon person would not write, it is the phrase AR-15 style rifle.
Unless they're being satirical, Basil.
What you have here is an outlet posing to be a QAnon-style outlet, trying to get the attention of everybody who wants to hear about adrenochrome and Gitmo and vaccine scientists getting arrested, all the stuff that you want to, grab the attention of the sort of wild cards, the internet wild cards, let's call them. If you were that type of person writing these type of stories, you might say a lot of these things. In fact, you would talk about demonic Rihanna. You would talk about
perfect
pentagram belt stuff.
Yeah.
You would talk about all this stuff. No way on earth would you use the phrase naturally AR-15 style rifle.
Unless all they had to do was put parentheses around it, and it would have made anybody informed would have understood the reference of, this is a kind of a jab at the mainstream. We call it AR-15 style rifles all the time.
Exactly.
No such grammatical indications.
So the long and short of this is, I believe this entire outlet is a PSYOP outlet, of course. It's being run by establishment people posing as anti-establishment people. And they slipped up a little bit. They said AR-15 style rifle, which gives away the PSYOP of it. They are mainstream or intelligence or something, creating this outlet to either guide certain, radical narratives or muddy the waters.
Yeah.
Create chaos.
Yeah.
This kind of stuff.
Yeah. Because it's been a while since I've seen like a Q style narrative being pushed out there. Maybe, I don't know, maybe my algos are different on my social medias, but this was the first one I saw in a while where there was like something off, and I was looked into it and I was like, I don't know about, because I had another friend message me this exact thing, that exact screenshot, and was like, oh, if this is true, and I was like, well, let's take a look. And it didn't take long before I was like, I don't know about this, guys.
Yeah.
This is not making a whole lot of sense.
Thing. It is so blatantly a psyop controlled by the intelligence community. Well, let me say, it's not blatantly.
Not necessarily blatant, yeah.
It's not necessarily blatantly. In fact, I take that back. It is very subtle. You need to find this very subtle clue that not only, is this not true, which anybody could assume for all sorts of reasons, including the fact that the website says that they don't tell the truth on their about page. But the fact that they would use a term, it's a shibboleth. AR-15 style rifle is a shibboleth that they are part of the establishment, and they're using this to create, to maybe not create, but to maintain the health of a certain online community that they have found very useful in, I don't know, busting people, justifying continued increase in taxpayer funding, stuff like that. You know what I mean?
It says here, but we mentioned earlier, the Michael Baxter, the guy who wrote this article and is behind Real Raw News, is a former mainstream journalist. So
of course,
perhaps, give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he had an autocorrect on his word processor and it just, he wrote AR-15, but the computer was like AR-15 style rifle, because that's what you always said when you wrote in mainstream journals. Well,
remember, 2020, 2021, we documented the almost systematic migration of mainstream journalists leaving corporate news and infiltrating independent media. Right. This is an example of that.
Yeah.
It was a very specific sort of migration of current and formerly corporately professional journalists
employed,
moving into the independent space, because that's where everybody was going, and poisoning the waters. We've been following this for at least 2 years, and this is a great example.
It's a clear example of one of our debunker bunkers.
Get to the bunker!
The debunker bunker.
I don't know if we have time for this last one here. I mean, it's kind of in relationship with all this, but we'll just mention it. It's from CNBC. The headline is "Why America's Outdated Energy Grid is a Climate Problem." And it talks about how the electrical grid was built in the 60s and 70s, and it's old and it needs to be redone, and it's perfect timing for Joe's whole infrastructure bill thing.
Just in time, all the neo-Nazis are blowing up the substations.
Stuff up. It's great time. They mentioned here that the Department of Energy said that all these sort of older infrastructure creates vulnerabilities in an announcement of an initiative included in President Biden's bipartisan infrastructure law to catalyze investment in the nation's grid. So I think we've been seeing a lot of this, this is part of the reset. This is the Build Back Better thing. And I think the AI aspect of this that we'll talk about in the next block is basically the through line. All the infrastructure will be redone, and it's going to have AI implemented, and I think it's a big part of it. So anyway, no surprises with this. It's just the timing of everything is what is suspicious, I think. And I think anyone paying attention would notice all that. So,
and as always, keep an eye out for policy, and keep an eye out for the public-private partnership for whatever corporation is going to get the contract to redo the entire electrical infrastructure. Coincidentally, what other country is currently having the contracts drawn up to redo the entire electrical infrastructure. It's the Ukraine. And who's doing it? I believe it's BlackRock.
BlackRock is involved. Yep.
Is the
reconstruction.
The capital involved. So this is, it's almost the exact same playbook, just under different context of destroying infrastructure and creating the public sort of justification to get a company to come in and harness not only ownership of the entire country's infrastructure, but also the $1 trillion it would take to replace it all.
It's unreal. And, I think Elon Musk is going to play a big role in this as well. His gigafactories. Biden announced the whole car thing where they're going to use Teslas to charge, for the electric vehicles. So I think he's got a role to play in here. And also, blaming climate change, very convenient. And if you're put your tinfoil hat on, maybe some of those folks are abusing their geoengineering technology and things go out of whack. And of course, you can stay immune by just blaming climate change to get what you want out of all the policy changes.